Hi, my name is Olajide Olagunju, and I'm the author of the book, How to Resolve a Conflict. And that's the book I want to share with you on the screen, How to Resolve a Conflict. This book is the textbook for the lecture series you've just joined. The lecture series is titled How to Resolve a Conflict, the same title as the book, and this is How to Resolve a Conflict, lecture 44. Welcome. Uh, when I say 44, that means we've gone through 43 lectures already. Uh, if this is your first time of joining us, please endeavor to look at lectures 1 to 43, to watch lectures 1 to 43. We've had great discussions, and I'm sure you would enjoy watching them. So what we do is we look at the text, and then we'll have a discussion. Now we are looking at the person of the mediator. For a while, we've been looking at the person of the mediator. And then we said some time ago that the effective communication is the key role of the mediator. It's creating effective communication, because that's what makes resolution to happen as much as possible. Another effective conflict, effective communication, we have some components. We've looked at some listening, understanding, correct timing. Today, we want to go on to sincerity of motive under components of effective communication. I'll read and we'll have a discussion. Excuse me. Sincerity of motive. A bitter or prejudiced mind cannot communicate effectively. A bitter or prejudiced mind cannot communicate effectively. Will you recall, if you've been part of these lectures for a while, that under step 1 in the 10-step mediation that I created as part of my effort to improve conflict resolution practice, in step 1, we talked about understanding parties' feelings. That if we don't understand parties' feelings, we may not be able to effectively help them to think out options for effective conflict resolution. And so when I read here, bitter, I remember that that's step 1 in the 10-step mediation. I'd also say that strong emotions, whether negative or positive, tend to affect our ability to think. And I remember I said that we don't settle in anger. So we're back to that. A bitter or prejudiced mind cannot communicate effectively. So part of the duty of the mediator is to remove that bitterness and to reduce the prejudice as much as possible. I would like to read on. There must be a desire to reach out to and hear the other person in good faith and without prejudice. And that's pretty clear enough. And what I must repeat is that that's why you are there as a mediator. Because you know that as long as prejudice is in place, as long as you know that bitterness is in place, you should be able to tell yourself that I can't go far except I stop and deal with these problems so that the channel of communication can open. Let me read on. A mediator has an attitude of complete respect, openness, and empathy to both parties in a conflict, based on a commitment to help find out the problem behind their conflict. Excuse me. I've spoken to this before. That the mediator has an attitude of complete respect. It does not matter how the whole world perceives this person before you, the party before you. you must have, as a mediator, you must have to the party complete respect. Total, complete. I mean, it must be clear to the party that you respect them. And that's a trigger for their respecting you. The Igbos will say, Ubugun kwaelo kwaelo. Those who speak Fufu, they speak something similar. I think they will say, do tenegu, dayan do tenegu. Respect is reciprocal. Why is that important? You respect them, they feel you are somebody worthy of their attention, of being told what ground they keep, or they probably care from everybody. And for you, you know that you need that communication, you need what they say to be able to take the process forward. So you must have complete respect for them. Openness also on your part as a mediator. Openness, complete, total openness. Why? When you are open, you can receive. Simple as that. You can't be shutting them out. You can't be blocking what they want to communicate. Blocking either verbally or by your attitude, by your body language. They must see you as receptive. And it's good for you to be receptive, because if you're not receptive, how would you get anything from them? And you know, you live on their words or by their words as a mediator. Yeah, wordsmith. If you don't have words, you can't operate. So openness, empathy to both parties. Empathy. I explained this earlier on. Your ability to know how the shoe pinches, each of them, for each of them. You must make efforts to understand as much as possible how easy they feel. So let's continue. I said here, I wrote here that the empathy is based on a commitment to help find out the problem, the concern, the need behind their conflict. What does it mean to be empathic? Is to carry people in your heart. So when you hear them, including what they're not saying, I mean, what they're not saying verbally, what they're not verbalizing, of course, you need to confirm from them that you are hearing them well, that they are hearing what they're not saying, that what you are hearing is actually what they are trying to communicate. We'll discuss that later, how you do that, how you make that happen. I believe we mentioned that a little bit in the past, but we'll do that more again toward the end of the lecture series. So empathy makes you have a greater rapport with both of them, that makes them communicate, open the channel of communication so they can communicate to you. Because it's inside what they communicate to you that you know what the problem is, what needs are not being met, what the concerns are, what their feelings are, what their feelings are. I read, a mediator never sees the parties as the problem, but rather as a joint problem solvers. We emphasize this in any lecture. This approach makes it very easy to listen to them, to hear them, to understand them, and by force of consequence, to transfer to them these qualities which are indispensable for effective communication, integrative negotiation, and holistic conflict resolution, which is what mediation is all about. I will say pause. I'd like us to continue. So I was discussing empathy and the value, the fact that empathy to both parties in a conflict is based on the mediator's commitment to help find out the problem behind their conflict. And I read that a mediator never sees the parties as the problem, but rather as the joint problem solvers. That's very critical and important. In mediation and in amicable conflict resolution, we're not looking at the parties, we're looking at the problem. The parties are not the problem, but the parties have a problem jointly, and they attempt jointly to resolve the problem. This approach makes it very easy to listen to them, to hear them, to understand them. That's already read that. Now, when you are not seeing them as a problem, of course, it helps you to listen to them. It helps you to understand them. But very importantly, it helps you to transfer to them these qualities of listening to the other person. Which qualities are indispensable for effective communication, for integrative negotiation, and for holistic conflict resolution, which is what mediation is all about. Don't forget that, as I said in an earlier lecture, when you are doing effective communication, effective dispute resolution, the parties are picking up the qualities of the mediator so that when they have a conflict in future, they approach it the way you've taught them without saying a word. Just by looking at the way you conduct yourself with them, they're able to learn from you. And so when they have a conflict in the future, or when they have to deal with help people in the future, they just apply what you've applied to solving their own problem or their own conflict. Now, what does it require? I read, this requires a sweet spirit, an open spirit on the part of the mediator. A sweet spirit does not meet a brick wall. It is met with openness. There's a quote here, when you smile at a mirror, it smiles back. That's from Nigeria's late colorful politician, MKO Abiola. Now, when you smile at a mirror, the mirror smiles back. You know, so what the parties give the mediator is a function of the mediator gives the parties. Your attitude towards them, the way you treat them. I read, the mediator needs to provoke this openness on the part of the parties before he or she can get a durable resolution. And the secret is simple, a sweet spirit. So mediators have sweet spirits because sweet spirits attract. And when they find you attractive, they want to speak to you, they want to talk to you, they want to communicate with you. You become an effective communicator. I think we'll stop here today. Please remember to subscribe to this channel. Remember to apply the skills we are learning. And remember to see if you can pick up a copy of the book, How to Resolve a Conflict. It's available on all Amazon outlets. Thank you for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lecture. That will be lecture 45. Thanks a lot.